Right, as always, let's take a look at where we left off. We have a character running through our environment. We have a bunch of stuff spawning. We have our character running around. We have health pickups. We have coins. Now let's handle collision detection between these different objects. And I'm actually going to increase the speed of my runner. He's a little boring. So let's make this 4. So let's test that out really quickly. Yeah, it's a lot more fun. Okay. Now, if we look at the way the collision is handled, we have our hurdle obstacles, and that has a box collider. And we have our runner here, and he has a rigid body and a player controller. We have the model itself, which is really just a mesh with a controller on there for controlling the animations. Now, the thing is, when it comes to sort of architecting our program here or our game, do we want it to be as simple as possible and just let the player control all of the collisions that happen with the objects in the scene? Or do we want the objects themselves to be able to control the collision, right? So each individual object has its own specific controls. I tend to kind of float between both of them, but I try to see as much as I can get done within the having it on one script. So let's start with just creating a new script. Now, if you're using the older version of Unity 2022, it's create C# script. If it's Unity 6, as always, use model behavior script. I'm going to name this script player collision handler. And again, forgive the coarseness in my voice. We're sick again in the DeMargin household. So I'm going to go ahead and open this script up and do a side-by-side. Let's also go ahead and select our runner here. And you want the highest level here. And just grab your player collision script, or handler rather, and then just put it below this controller here so that these scripts are next to each other. I'd probably put my player input above my rigid body as well, just for organizational purposes. All right, so as always, you want to start off very basic whenever you're writing any script. You don't want to jump into something bigger and throwing all this logic at it. So what do we know that handles collision? Well, we know we have the on collision enter script, right? And inside of this, what we can do is just right off the bat, we can just see what objects we're colliding into. So we can use a debug.log here. And then we could do other.gameObject.name. And I'm going to save this off here. All right, and let's go ahead and press play on this. Let's see how this works. So now I'm going to hit Control-Shift-C to open up my console here. Let's see. So anytime I collide with another object, looks like, let's see. We have a player collision handler here. Oh, I never added a collider on my runner here. So let's go ahead and add a capsule collider. And I'm going to go ahead and hit F to focus. And let's just bring this up 0.5. And then I'm just going to drag this top part up because the center of this collider was on where my pivot point was. Okay, so that should work. So let's go ahead and press play again here. Now that we have a capsule collider on here, you can see now I have hurdle mesh, I have cube, I have apple. Let's see if I have donut. You can see my guys flying all over the place, and we'll fix that as well. But you can see now that this collision handler is working, and it's registering the names of the objects that we're colliding into. So what I'm going to do to keep my player from flipping out when he's moving is I'm just going to turn on the rigid body of my player here is kinematic. And now when my player runs, it should register all of those hits. Let's see. Actually, yeah, so we do want it is kinematic because that way our player won't run around. We don't want to use gravity. And let's change it from discrete, make sure interpolate is on, so it's always checking that. But now when we press play, like before, we're not necessarily going to get, here, let me clear this out. it's not registering the name. So what can we do? Well, because this is kinematic and we have a player input here, if it is kinematic, the other object needs to have a rigid body on it as well. So if I go ahead and add a component here, I'm going to type rigid body. The only problem is with our hurdle obstacle, if I press play now, you're going to see that they're going to explode in our scene. So you could see how they're like flipping out and stuff. And we don't want that, but we do want to interact with it. So let's go ahead and clear this out. And that's why we're getting this error. And we don't want to use gravity, so that way it doesn't fall. And we don't want to use is kinematic because otherwise it won't register the hit. So what we want to do is just lock freeze the rotations on all of these. So I'm going to go ahead and press play here. And now we should be able to register that hurdle. Let's see. Yeah, now you can see we have our hurdle name here. The other problem is I think there's it's this convex mesh collider. Our hurdle itself, let me go inside here. We have a box collider here, but the hurdle mesh here has a mesh collider, so we have to remove that component. Now if we go back, it should save it because we're not going to be editing it any longer. And by default, the ProBuilder assets have that mesh collider. So now if we go in here, you can see we're interacting with the hurdle obstacle. So we're going to have to do the same setup for every other obstacle, like add a rigid body to it. So we have our donut and our cake. So that's perfect. All right, so I want to create one more script. Now this one here is just for handling the player when the player collides with an object. Now each pickup object, I kind of want it to have a special like it does its own thing, right? For example, like there could be a speed pickup, a health pickup, and we have the coins. So let's go inside of our scripts folder and create another C# script or mono behavior script and just call this pickup. And I'm just going to drag that inside of here, once this finishes its thinking. All right, so I'm going to select my coin pickup and where's my other health pickup? And I'm going to drag this pickup script and drop it on there. And you can see by selecting both, it added it onto each one. See, it's there. The other thing I want to do to both of those is I want to add let's see, kind of look at the shape of our coin. Okay, I want to add so I'm going to remove this mesh collider here, and then I'm going to add a box collider, this guy. Let's see. Same as before, I'll go 0.5, just kind of edit the shape a little bit. Then let's double click our health pickup. And then same as before, I'm going to remove this mesh collider here. And I'm going to add a sphere collider. Well, the pivot point is way back here. So we got to play with this a little bit like this. 0.1, 5. Yeah, it's kind of off. I think that's good. We don't have to go crazy with it. Needs to be nudged over on the X as well. I think that works. So I'm going to save that, save my project. And now when we select our health pickup here, you can see we have a sphere collider, and our coin, we have the box collider here. And for these two, what I want to do is I want these to be triggers. So I'm going to use an on trigger enter instead of an on collision enter on both of these. And that way we could just kind of run through them as our characters like going through. We'll just have those set up as a trigger inside of our pickup script. All right, let's do that again. Let's do file, save project. I'm gonna hit Control S just to double check that. So same as before, you always want to be modular in your coding. So on trigger enter here, debug.log, and then just other.gameObject.name. And I don't remember, I know I've done this in previous classes, but I don't, in case you forgot, the other that I'm getting here is when an object enters that trigger area, it saves whatever, like all of the properties of whatever we run into this variable called other, which is of type collider. And so one of the properties is the name of our object. So if I do other.gameObject.name, what I'm saying is if I collide into something and, we have this marked as a trigger, if something enters the trigger area, which is this sphere collider here, then we're just going to grab that name. So I'm going to hit Control S to save this, Control Shift C to open up my console. If for whatever reason your console's not open, you can go to Window, General, and then Console here. Let's press play here. Let's just see if we get our coin. Here we have runner, this. I'm going to grab this health pickup. Let me clear this out. You can see, if I grab this health pickup, you can see runner. So there we go. We're registering our coins and we're registering our runner in the hurdle. All right, so something else I want to do is there's a couple ways to get this object where this trigger will only trigger if we run into a specific object in our scene. And we're going to be using tags for that. So I'm going to go ahead and tag this as player. And now our runner is tagged as player. And what we can do inside of here is just say if the other, we have this other.gameObject. If I copy this, .gameObject.tag is the same as, and then this could have errors because like it can't find player or something like that because you have it spelled wrong. So make sure to spell it with a capital P just like that, player. So if the other GameObject.tag has the same tag or the same name as player, what we're going to do is, I'm holding Alt to just move this up, then hit Control Alt Enter. And it looks like I've got an extra quote in here. That's the only way we're going to print out the player's name. So for example, if I press play here, you can see now it's still printing out runner, but it's only doing it for this object that is called player. Now the reason why I'm doing this too is this is the most performant. I could do find game object in my scene, which we've done in previous games, but with that, it's searching your entire project to find the game object, in your scene. With this, it's the fastest because we're only looking for one tag, which is player, and that this pickup script is now interacting with this one player. All right, something else we can do so that nobody else can edit this name of this tag or, or edit this, essentially this string here. So we can actually create a variable and we'll make it of type string. And we'll just call this player string. And we'll make this equal to player here. Now, the way that we can lock it in so that player string is never changed anywhere in the code is we can use the keyword const, which stands for constant. Now let's get rid of private. Now if I go in here and I say, oh, you know what, I want to change this player string to something else. So if I copy this here and I go inside of this method and I paste this, let me get rid of string here, and I say player string equals, something else, you can see I get an error. And if I go over this and I highlight it, it says constant player string is immutable. The assignment target must be an unassignable variable. And what it means by that is because I put constant on here, this string cannot be changed. So now when we use player string here, it's locked in. So that's a nice value. You could make it a serialized field outside of here so that they can make sure the name is typed in properly or the same. But for now, it really doesn't, this is just trying to show you the way to safeguard it. And then something else you might see a lot is instead of this GameObject.tag, there is another method that's part of this collider, this type or class and it's compare tag. And then what we can do in here is just wrap player string inside of here. Now this is supposedly faster than doing equals equals. I don't know by how much, but But here's another way of doing it. We're saying other.compare tag player string. And if I save this and press play, it does the exact same thing as equals equals. So it's just a cleaner way of writing your code. Just trying to show you all the different, so you can see runner, runner, runner. Just trying to show you all the different ways of, you know, just that you might see this code written. All right, something else that I'm noticing is if we look, when we play our game here, and we have all of these like fruits and donuts, or rather, there's no fruit, but the apple's down there. But as we're playing our game, and you see we have this hamburger that comes, notice that this hamburger that's in our game here, it stays there forever, right? Like we have all these hamburgers falling. There's our donut, and let's see, we have all, and they just keep going. So what I want to do is underneath this, just kind of underneath our ground here. So here's our ground parent. It's at 0, 0, 0. I'm just going to create another game object underneath it, and it's just going to be a cube. And I'll make the scale, I don't know, 50 by 50. You know what? This could be 1 here by 50. And I'm just going to place it just back here so that, let's see. I'm going to go a little bit further behind. And that way, when our donuts fall off of our bridge here, or like our things, and we'll mark this as trigger. So once they enter inside of here, and I don't think you could see that from the game view. Otherwise, if you do, just turn off mesh renderer here, and you won't be able to see it. But as they fall, let's just kind of see the first donut kind of fall on this surface. I'm going to have it destroy the other object. Oh, see, that's why I needed to test it. So let's just go, let's make this, I don't know, we can make it 200. It really doesn't matter. It's a pretty low polygon object. And what the heck, we'll make it 200 here. And then I'm going to turn off mesh render so we can't see it. And then we'll call this obstacle destroyer. So let's save that. Let's save our project. Make sure to check it into version control, because after this, I'm going to stop this lesson. And because we're doing something new, what we can do is we always want to create a new script. So obstacle destroy. And then let's attach that obstacle destroy script here. And then I'm going to grab that obstacle destroy script and drop it inside of here. And to save time, I'm going to grab this bit of code here, this onTrigger enter, and just paste it in here. And then we'll get rid of this. Now, because we only have the donuts falling on there, like the bakery goods, we could just do destroy other dot game object, and then just save that. And what this will do is anything that enters that trigger area that falls in there, it'll just automatically destroy it. So I'm gonna go ahead and press play here. And we'll take a look at our hamburger here. Looks like one missed it, I think. My donuts, for some reason. No, they're being destroyed. Yeah, so as they spawn, there's one donut. Yeah, no, they keep getting destroyed. And I'll end this lesson here.